Welcome back, everyone. We are today with Mr. Petru Sorin Dandea, General Secretary of the National Trade Union Confederation Cartel ALFA, one of the largest trade union confederation in Romania and among the top experts on the subject in Europe. Glad to meet you. So let's talk about the fair mobility and the fundamental rights.
Of course, as a trade union organization, we are very interested on fair mobility because, as you know, Romania today is one of the largest exporter of the labor force all across Europe. And speaking about 4.5 million Romanian employees working all across Europe, we are interested in how the Romanian workers can have their labor rights respected by their employees in these countries. Fair mobility is a concept that covers, in fact, exactly that issue, how the labor rights locally are observed by the employers when we are discussing about mobile workers. And indeed, it is true that many of these employees are enjoying, let's say, good labor rights. But in some cases, we discovered practically many abuses coming from the employers, due to the fact that usually these employees have problems in speaking the local language, in understanding the labor legislation which applies in these countries. And of course, some employers are trying to profit from this situation, and they do not observe the labor legislation, even that for local employees, the rights and the labor legislation is respected because, of course, the labor authorities are keeping an eye open, especially on the domestic workers. Now, we are participating in many projects across Europe dealing with this problem of the mobile workers. EUReKA was one of these projects, and inside of this project we practically focused on designing instruments and tools that can better inform the mobile workers once they are leaving their own country and wish to work in another country about the labor rights and the working conditions they can enjoy in this new country if they are starting to work on the labor market locally. And we believe that in this way, having, let's say, better informed workers, practically we can help them to better defend their rights and to better understand the specificities of the labor market in the new country where they are going to work. And of course, in this new situation, if they know about the labor rights they can enjoy, if probably they prepare before learning a little bit, speaking the local language, will help them a lot trying to, when they will practically try to integrate in the local labor market. That's why we, as unions in Romania, we are very interested to offer this type of information tools, make them available for the Romanian employees, because, as I told you, we have millions of Romanians which today are working outside Romania.
Thank you very much for your work. And another question for you, Mr. Dandea. What about the plug of caporalato, not only in agriculture, but in many fields of our society, in your opinion?
This is a very sensitive issue, because usually here we are not speaking about, let's say, a normal labor contract as we usually find out in other sectors. We are speaking about this kind of employees. Practically, they are working on temporary work contracts. These temporary work contracts, of course, are designed specifically in the sectors that have an activity affected by the seasons. And indeed, because usually these employees, these temporary employees working in agriculture or in constructions are working in these temporary work contracts, but usually in, let's say, remote areas very far from local authorities or authorities that are taking care about the working conditions. In this type of situation, we have seen in the last times abuses. We have seen practically labor rights, fundamental labor rights that were not observed by the employers, just because usually these employees are, many of them are not qualified, are non-qualified workers. Usually they don't speak the local language, and being in this situation and being in a very remote area, they practically are, how to say, they are not into jail, but they are very close to this type of situation, because practically they are living and working on the same place, and practically they have to accept the living conditions offered by the employers, which usually are not very nice living conditions. And of course, to work as long as the employer is requesting, because usually, as you know, in agricultural especially, people in this area, the migrant people, the mobile workers usually are working not on the normal 8-hour daily program, but are working usually 10, 12, 14 hours a day, which of course is not, this is not the normal working time that a normal worker enjoys, working in a factory or working in a shop or in other sectors of the economy.
And we know that we need the work to live. So the goal is all rights for all EU citizens on the move, especially in working fields. So please visit the site keyformobility.eu, and thank you very much to Mr. Petru Sorin Dandea. It was very kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.